So surgery, 3 ways of doing surgery. You can do an open technique, which means you cut through the skin in the palm and the forearm. You can do a mini open technique, which is where you cut through the skin just in the palm, so less mobility. You can do an endoscopic technique where you make a little incision in the wrist and you use a camera to look around there and you cut the ligament from inside out. So the benefits of an endoscopic, and obviously I'm getting biased because that's how I do it. Faster recovery, better grip following surgery, less pillar pain, which is pain on the sides of the wrist. So not so much in work on, but people use crutches, wheelchair, walker, you can do it the same day. So typically after carpal tunnel release, you can return to light duty after a week. It's not that big of a surgery. You can return to most normal activities after a month. You can return to all activities, even heavy, after 2 months. You don't need OT. Every study's out there said that people don't require OT. They require home exercises and time. Work comp might be different, but yet the studies out there show no difference. And NMI is about 4 months. So this is the ugly and bad, all in one, repetitive motion disorder. So repetitive motion disorder is defined as a family of muscular conditions that result from repeated motion in the course of a normal day, normal activities. So when you look up repetitive motion, you'll find anything from carpal tunnel tendonitis, bursitis, epicondylitis, ganglions, trigger fingers. If you look at the medical books, so there's a main medical textbook that we use as answers, which is called Breed's textbook of operative surgery. You can't find repetitive motion. You can't find cumulative trauma, it doesn't exist in the book. So medical doctors don't believe this properly. And if we do, it's kind of vague. So what do we do when everything else fails? If you can't find it in my fancy, expensive medical books, we go to the internet. So I Googled this study because I'm giving a talk on repetitive motion disorders, and so when you Google it, repetitive motion disorders or cumulative trauma, it says too many uninterrupted repetitions of activity or motion, unnatural or awkward motions, overexertion, incorrect posture, muscle fatigue. I get that, I do that, I work out, I fix my house, I get it. So the disorder is characterized by pain, tingling, numbness, swelling, redness, loss of flexibility and strength. So that's pretty vague because that happens in pretty much every condition. So Cochrane database, which is a little bit more scientific. So Cochrane, the thought tank that the government uses for good and bad information, uses the term repetitive strain injury, refers to patients where there's no discrete objective pathophysiological condition that corresponds with the patient's pain complaints. So that's an umbrella for all of these things, but it's kind of vague. So how do you treat it? If you can't define the condition, I can say, well, don't work, but that might not be the answer. Because we don't have any objective tests to even define it. It's basically a symptom. So it's hard to define. So how do we treat it when we don't even know how to objectively define the criteria? So that's a really difficult condition to treat when you can't find a diagnosis, when you can't objectively diagnose it. Okay. All right, so then so case one. So I'm going to take you through a couple of cases because it puts it in perspective and it's not always this simple. Case one, 65-year-old running dominant female, 2 years of increased numbness and tingling in the right hand, worse at night, pretty classic non-smoker. The medical conditions, this is the work sister took at a hospital, does a little typing, tried night splits with partial benefit. Examination is quite concordant, there's numbness in the right digits, positive provocative test, no swelling or sinusitis. Nerve studies show chronic bilateral moderately severe carpal tunnel. How do you treat that? Brace. A primary care doc told her it's work-related, so that's why she comes to see me, because doctors obviously work-related, you all know that. But truthfully, she has idiopathic carpal tunnel. I honestly, quite frankly, don't believe that the individual who touched the middle of the day for many years is going to get carpal tunnel, in my opinion, and I think that's borne out by the literature. If she was doing data entry and she was working 6 hours after plugging in, that's a completely different story. She has a low-risk job, she's postmenopausal female, there wasn't really a temporal relationship, no sort of tendon issues. So case two now, different story, 35-year-old male, he works
an independent contractor who started working 3 months ago in this job, working construction, working his ass off, does some ticking after 2 weeks at the job, is worse at night in the cold, doesn't smoke. He has depression, as we all do a little bit. He has appropriate numbness, positive provocative tests. He has some swelling in his forearm, and I added in a picture of that, which you don't have, but it's there. And so obviously that's work related. Anybody who says that is deceiving themselves. You know, this is a guy who's got a temporal relationship, he does a heavy job, he's got swelling, that's the slam dunk. And then case 3 is the one that consumes all the healthcare dollars. 45-year-old female, 2 years of increasing arm pain. So she has pain. Not really numbers from tingling, but pain is her primary complaint. 9 out of 10 at rest, 10 out of 10 activities. That's not typical for carpal tunnel. She has numbers and tingling in all her fingers when she has, and it goes all the way up to her neck. And it's worse when she writes, that's a red flag. Worse during the day, red flag. She smokes, she has depression, anxiety, just as already as I said, and she works at UPS for 10 years. Been off work for back pain a lot of the time. And it came on when she was off work. She tried narcotics, which her PCP gave her a red flag with no relief. Her PCP told her it was carpal tunnel work related. So she has numbs in all fingers. So I tell you, if you do a 2-point discrimination, people who have more than 15 millimeters of 2-point discrimination mean that their nerve is not functioning. You cut the nerve, that's more than, if you have severe carpal tunnel, it's like 8, 10. But more than 15 implies 0 nerve function. When I touch her with 1 point, she says 2. That's a red flag, because nobody should feel that ever. If I touch you with 1, you say it's 1 or I can't feel it, but it's never 2. Big red flag. She has pain everywhere, her nerve studies are normal. So MRI of her neck, normal. So she was told by the other doctor who she saw that nerve studies came out, they're not accurate, they're frequently normal in the presence of carpal tunnel. And I've seen a lot, and this is where a problem arises when you get normal nerve studies. It is true. There are people who have written about it, and you can get normal nerve studies in the presence of carpal tunnel. However, because I changed this recently, so anyway. However, there has to be a concordant physical examination, so not what this lady has. It has to be numbness, tingling in the fingers with a positive Tinella compression test and what have you. You have to have a concordant physical. And in those people, I think the best thing to do, it takes 3 seconds, do a diagnostic cortisone injection. You do a cortisone injection and it gets better, boom, there's your diagnosis, 100%. Because nothing else will get better if you inject there. So if you inject your carpal tunnel and the person says it helps 0, chances of a carpal tunnel helping them are pretty close to 0 in the presence of normal nerve studies with that examination. So that person has non-organic pain, and it needs to be addressed differently, not through a carpal tunnel release. Easy to do a carpal tunnel release, not easy to open that Pandora's box. Enough of that. I'm going to be done with you. So the next thing I'm going to talk about are tendons, and so I'm going to tell you a little bit of what I've titled as common misconceptions regarding the rotator cuff. You guys have that? So the rotator cuff, so this is the person with normal nerve study. So what I was going to tell you and show you, which I added with these, everything we do, every test is a normal Gaussian curve. It's a bell curve, and that's science, and that's what we do. And so one has to believe that nothing is 100% in 0 in life, as you guys know me too well. And so you can get outliers. And so that's why nerve studies don't have to be normal 100% of the time. But certainly the lower percentage, less than 10%, and I said you have to have a concordant examination. So the rotator cuff is the workhorse of the shoulder. The reason why I'm really speaking on this is because I think most of the issues and most of the IMEs I do are for carpal tunnel and rotator cuffs. And how to do that. So it's the workhorse of the shoulder. It's responsible for almost all the function. It's responsible for anything from 30 to 130, getting your hand behind your back away from your body, 2 seconds on the anatomy. So the humeral head is the ball that articulates with the socket. The head is convex. There's 2 extensions of the humeral head, the greater and lesser tuberosity. Where the rotator cuff inserts, and I've color-coded it, and the acromion is the roof of the rotator cuff. So the impingement, iliac impingement, that's what they're talking about. The yellow is the roof. That's the roof of the rotator cuff. So you've heard of SITS, the muscles of the rotator cuff. 4, supraspinatus is responsible for abduction, abduction getting your arm out to the side. Infraspinatus, abduction, external rotation. Teres minor, external rotation away from you. Subscapularis is the internal rotation, and the biceps tendon is a tiny little tendon that has no real great function but lives between these muscles, between the tendons. So here's a nice MRI depiction. The supraspinatus is at the top in the yellow, and there's a little illustration on the right. The infraspinatus is behind it, and the teres minor you don't see on the sequence, but on the axial study. Oh. There we go. So on the axial study, you can see the subscapularis is in the front. Anyway, the ligaments stabilize the shoulder. The most important one is the inferior one, which I'm not going to go into detail. So the function of the rotator cuff is 2. It keeps the ball in the socket if the ligaments are weak or loose, so it's a secondary stabilizer, and it gives you most of your motion, so they get motion. So what's the pathology of rotator cuff dysfunction? Well, intrinsic, wear and tear. Diabetes affects the vascularity, inflammation, rheumatoid gout, causes the tendons to become worn out prematurely. Extrinsic, so you've heard of impingement, that's when something impinges on the tendon, and I'll go into it in a minute. There's your rotator cuff, there's the acromion, there's the bursa, there's your arm being abducted. So intrinsic failure is because there's a watershed area, so the blood supply goes from the muscle, and it's in the bone. There's an area between the two where there's a decreased vascularity, and that's typically where the tendon tears. There's many studies out there that as we age, the tendon wears out. One of the first studies a long time ago, 10 years, 12 years ago, they took people off the street, no shoulder problems ever, never had pain, never been treated. They looked at people over the age of 50, 60, 70, now behold, they MRI'd them. They found 60% of people over 70 had rotator cuff tears without symptoms. No back pain, you find back discs, little without symptoms. So looking at the extrinsic causes, impingement. So this arc, so the acromion, so the acromion is this line that lives over the yellow, which is the rotator cuff, and the scapuliani describe 3 versions: straight, curved, and beat. The ball beat, and this has come under scrutiny recently, but the ball beat, the ball pushes on the tendon, so when you lift your arm up, more people have rotator cuff problems with the beat acromion. Most people, 50% have type 2 acromion, 20 to 30% have type 3s. So there you can see, as you abduct your arm, you can see it pushes the rotator cuff, is squeezed or impinged in there. So rotator cuff, people with rotator cuff problems present with classic symptoms. Okay, it's not pain in their neck or in their fingers. It's lateral shoulder and upper arm pain. It's there. And why is that? It's because the rotator cuff has an innervation and nerve that goes to it, provides it with its muscle innervation, so it makes it contract, and that nerve continues down the arm. So that's why people will typically say, I have pain and it radiates towards my elbow. Usually pain wakes them up at night. Why? Because when I'm standing and when I'm erect and gravity is helping me, it's pulling my arm down. And so it's opening up that space at night. When you're lying supine, that space closes down. And so if your cuff's inflamed, it hurts more. So when we do surgery on it, when we repair the rotator cuff, I tell people always, sleep in a recliner, it feels 1,000 times better, or prop up your head. And weakness is likely due to pain or structural failure. So as I said, the location of the pain is critical. Lateral shoulder, upper arm, AC joint here, muscle here, the trap, the SC joint, biceps. It has to be there. Not there, not there, there. So when they have diffuse pain, trapezial pain, parascapular pain, which is, that's not rotator. So in your examination, there can be deformity, atrophy, that means chronic. So if there's atrophy, it's chronic. You can all agree on that. Swelling, bruising, acute. Tenderness, where they tender. If they tender there, that's the AC joint. If they tender there, that's your gluteus, that's where your cuff will turn. Is there crepitus? Is it painful? I wake up in the morning, I get out of bed and my ankle kind of gives me pause or concern. It doesn't hurt, so I ignore it. What's their motion like? And always look at the other side. So the impingement, one of the tests for impingement, Hawkins and Mears are the two most commonly performed tests. Hawkins is when you have the abductor arm, internally rotate the arm. So what are you doing is you're stretching that rotator cuff and having a push up on that acromion. If it's inflamed, they don't like you. And where is the pain? Where is the pain? When I teach the residents and fellows every patient, where is the pain? There. I do that. Where's the pain? Wow, that hurt. Where's your pain? That's all around the inside of my shoulder blade. That ain't rotator. Knee test, have them forward flex their arm with their thumb and with their palm down, internally rotated again. Irritates the same rationale. Strength is a Jones test, so you have them abduct their arm with the plane of the scapula, so look forward. Thumbs up is deltoid, mostly, so they're pretty good in their strength. Thumbs down, that's pretty weak, that's isolating their rotator cuff. Weakness, and you compare it to the other side, obviously. And then there's a few less common ones, the horn motor test, which is an external rotation test. You have somebody push up like that, and a lift-off test, which is less accurate, but you have somebody do that to look at the subscapularis, which is much less commonly torn or injured. And the differential diagnosis is that there's a lot of things that people shoulder pain. It's not just rotator cuff or arthritis. It's the location of the pain that comes. So if somebody comes in and says, I have pain right here in the front of your shoulder, I'll tell you right away, it's the biceps, that's the capsule, like arthritis, or it's your AC joint. It's not your rotator cuff. If somebody comes in and it happens every day, I have pain down my arm, it's either the rotator cuff or you've got a pinch nerve in your neck. So it's pretty simple. So you get x-rays, what are the benefit of it? What is the benefit of the x-rays? So basically it's to exclude other things. Arthritis, tumors, calcium deposits, and to look at the acromion, to look at the morphology of that. So we spoke about a straight curve beat, and this is a type 2 because it's got a little curve. MRIs are great because they look at the soft tissue, it's become the gold standard. It looks at cartilage, muscle, tendon, ligaments. Looks at fluid, so this is an acute tear. You can see that white stuff is all fluid, the black stuff is the tendon. Helps you look at chronic tendinopathy, looks at the labrum, looks at basically everything you need to know in there to determine what's wrong. But is it causing the symptoms? That's the million-dollar question, and that's why you need an accurate examination. So there's a misnomer in terminology. When somebody says to me, tear, I think of trauma because of trauma. When I tore my Achilles, I was kicking a soccer ball. It was trauma. But the truth of the matter is I have gout. So I'm 99.9% sure it was my gout that caused it to tear. I was younger. And so tear doesn't always mean trauma. It's a medical term that means wear and tear, thinning. It could be completely torn, but it doesn't intuitively mean trauma. So when a radiologist says you have a tear on your supraspinatus, that doesn't mean somebody 100% of the time did something that caused it to be traumatized. And it could be wear and tear. It could be from trauma, 100% it could be. So acute tears are associated with decreased motion inflammation, hemoptysis, which is blood, also joint ecchymosis, bruising. So, you know, it's always interesting or bad, difficult, the integrity and the ethics part. Somebody goes to the ER and they have full motion in their shoulder, nerve hurts, and they don't say where. And then they see all the penis a week later, and they document full motion, and then they get an MRI 2 months later, and they say, oh, this is a tear and it's from whatever. The truth of that is that doesn't happen. If you have an acute tear, it's painful, and you can't, doesn't do harm. Chronic tears, you get retraction on the MRI, a lot of tendons involved, fraying, atrophy, humeral head high riding. I'll show you what that is on an X-ray. Sometimes even arthritis. So what do you do for partial tears? That's always conservative. Pain or motion isn't a guide to the extent of the tear. Full thickness tear, if you're young and athletic, 22-year-old quarterback, you're fixing it 100% of the time. If you're older, 70-year-old, you start conservative. A lot of studies have shown 60-70% of people who have conservative treatment of full thickness tears
if they're older, they do just fine, because their demands are different. So activity modification, anti-inflammatories, motion, therapy, scapular, strengthening the muscles that aren't injured. Injections can be vital, they can help a lot. So what they do is they take away the inflammation, help you get the motion, help you sleep at night, and they capture the pain syndrome. So what they do is they get rid of that pain that's constantly nagging. So if you have partial tears, some studies as high as 85% of people do well with conservative treatment. But every study out there that shows that does worsen the work population for obvious reasons. So what do you do when it's failed? Well, if the cuff's intact but a little thin, you do a deep compression. So you shave down part of the bone. So here's a spur, that's that curved acromion, and the other spur is gone. And the rehab for that is pretty quick. What happens if you have a full thickness tear? Concordant symptoms, active young, you repair it. It's a simple no-brainer, you repair it, and people do well. People who get managed with full thickness tears, with conservative treatment, if they're young, 50% of patients. If they're older, better. So what predicts bad outcomes? Long duration of symptoms, large tears, multiple tendons, activity, and work life. Everybody who injured themselves at work wants it repaired for obvious reasons, I get it. So the quick start was chronic full thickness tear. So again, we as orthopods spread information that's not true. Ethics, integrity, honesty, it's gone. I don't know where it went, but it's gone. So an older patient, they have weakness, no appropriate mechanism. So I saw somebody, he literally checks on things, I won't go into detail, but he checks on bags in front of him all day. He had his cuff repaired 12 years ago. I just saw it for the IME, that's why I mentioned it. And then one day he came to work and he was checking this stuff. They weighed out a pound less. And he said his shoulder was hurting. So he goes to a doc, like it's weak. So they get an x-ray. I'll show it to you. It looks like that. So that's when the board is touching the acromion. There's no rotator cuff there. It hasn't been there for ever, many years. So that's the effect of a chronic rotator cuff test. So when your tendon is pulled away and it's sitting that far away, when the muscle is atrophied, well, that's a chronic situation. So he gets an x-ray, he gets an MRI, he goes to see an orthopod, I'm embarrassed to say, it's part of IBJ. Who I know. And the guy says, yeah, I think you might have had a chronic tear, and you might have a little acute component, but the truth is he has no appropriate mechanism. This case is going to go nowhere quickly. He's got a full thickness tear, it's retracted, he's got atrophy, he's got high running humeral head, he's touching the acromion, etc., etc., etc. This is the natural progression of a chronic rotator cuff. Now, if the guy has a rotator cuff tear, it's functioning fine, and he goes and lifts a heavy thing, and suddenly he's like, whoa, yeah, it definitely causes some form of exacerbation or aggravation. This is a wrong mechanism. So what are the options? You can repair it. So nobody I know does an open repair in this day and age because you have to detach the deltoid and it's very morbid. And the biggest problem from an open repair is the deltoid. It dehisces, it scars, it doesn't heal well. So you can do a mini open repair, which is where you make a tiny little button hole in the deltoid, basically to tie the sutures, or you can do an arthroscopic repair where it's done all through the camera. Be aware of the diffuse pain. So I see, you guys said too, the person who comes in with pain everywhere, whatever the mechanism, whatever the MRI shows, but the doc says you need everything done because your AC joint, your biceps, your labrum, your rotator cuff, you name it. Yeah, I get a little weary of this. Everybody needs an AC joint resection, right? Because I can tell you that almost everyone over the age of 40 has AC joint arthritis. It's a vestigial joint that was used when we hunt from trees. And if you get an x-ray on anyone over the age of 40, it's going to look a little arthritic. It doesn't even cause the symptoms. So you have to have pain at the AC joint. There has to be positive provocative tests. So usually you have the person put their symptomatic hand on the other shoulder, and it hurts right there because it compresses the joint. Repairing chronic retractive tendons is a waste of time. The re-tear rate is high. Doesn't work any better than therapy. So here's my cases again to wrap it up. Case 1, 42-year-old male, 2 weeks of right-sided shoulder pain after a work-related injury. Fell 10 feet, so we all agree that's an appropriate mechanism to do damage. Went to the ER. Yeah, decreased motion, bruising, swelling, pain, you name it. Negative for fracture, was diagnosed with a strain. Given anti-inflammatories and a sling. He goes to see a doc. He has no problems before. His pain's in the right location. Works with other activities, wakes up at night. Got comorbidities.
construction. His examination shows bruising, swelling, decreased motion, pain, all the right provocative tests. Lateral shoulder pain. Has to be lateral shoulder and upper arm pain. X-ray showed no facial dislocations, so that's the acute tear. There's the tendon, there's the fluid. This is an acute tear, and he has a type 2 program. No big deal, but he has an acute tear. So he has the acute tear, and it needs to be fixed. And so this is what it looks like in surgery. He has his humeral head, he has his rotator cuff, he has his blood. You have the sutures, what we call a margin convergence. You bring that together. Then you put anchors in the vein tuberosity, and attached to those anchors are sutures, which you put through the tendon and you tie it down. And then while you're there, you decompress it, which probably wasn't playing a role, but will give it more space and help him with his recovery. So you show him down about 7-8 millimeters above. This is a different case, 59-yard male, 4 months of shoulder pain, work injury, saw his work doc. They said treat him for a while, sent him to general ortho. This is the history, the attorney referred to a chiropractor. They treated him every 2 days for 6 months, which gave him a guard relief. I don't mind chiropractors, I'll be honest with you, but it's not, just like physical therapy, but it's not working after multiple months. No matter what the treatment, you need to stop and say, hey, that isn't working, it's costly, it's not working. I mean, try it, I have no problem with that. But the exercises, the modalities, the massage, the adjustments in work. I mean, I reviewed a case the other day, person did massage and chiropractor, physical therapy at the same time for 2 years. Personally, I feel that's a little bit excessive. And I'm quite liberal with this stuff. I'll be honest, I believe in a lot of it. And MRI showed him tears, he was told he needs surgery, and that's why he's here. So you speak to the guy, spend some time, make him some injury, lifted packages, developed pain in the right shoulder, so he worked on 3 days later, pain in the shoulder. The notes are useless, it just says shoulder pain, x-rays are normal. So, guys, insights and flexural, that didn't work, they put him on narcotics, that didn't work, they were sleeping tablets and then put him off work. As I said, well, you know, it's no misnomer why physicians needed care, consent to see patients every week. I can tell you with the rotator cuff, nothing changes in a week. It takes weeks, maybe months. So I don't know why they see, well, we know why they see them weekly, but no change. Referred for a PT, no change. MRI showed, according to the patient's tear. So his history, as I mentioned, pain refractory, his examination shows pain in his shoulder, and according to his records, all his provocative tests are positive. All his provocative tests, so that's pretty weird. MRIs, rotator, according to the orthopod, just puts MRI shows the rotator cuff tear. That's like saying the sun's come up, it doesn't give you much information. It's time to have a cortisone shot, more therapy if it doesn't help surgery. The shot, that's a red flag. And he's told him he needed surgery, which is why he came to me. So then I examined him now, he's got 4 months of pain, where's his pain? Parascapular, paracervical, top of his shoulder, the chest wall, everywhere, whole arm, and he's 9 to 10 out of 10. Not just that's going to rotate the cuff, but it's pretty unusual to be that diffuse. Pain at rest, that's a weird. And he does activities at waist level, so he said when he writes, types, that's unusual, that shouldn't happen because your rotator cuff isn't active between under 30 degrees. That's all dealt with. Red flag. Worse during the day. Unresponsive to the medicines could happen with narcotics. It's pretty unusual. And now he's got numbness in his whole arm. So people have this misconception you can get numbness from shoulder problem. The only shoulder problem that gives numbness is thoracic outbreak, which is very unusual. And it's also another grave condition. So rotator cuff problems don't cause numbness. He worked at UPS for 25 years, drives in delivery, 10 to 20 pounds. He tells me he lifts from his desk, from waist level, and he puts it into a bucket on the floor. It does not overhead things. That's unusual for rotator cuff. He's had multiple work injuries that took a long time to get better. I don't hold that against him. I don't want to work with no distress. So he's sitting in the office comfortably, and his pain scale's 9 to 10 out of 10. And I bet I do have a problem with heart rate 72. So why is that important, heart rate? If you have a pain scale of 9 to 10 out of 10, your heart rate's going to be elevated. That's a normal visceral response. So if probably somebody says there's a 10 out of 10 pain scale and I measure their heart rate, and it's like 60, 70, it's a little incongruous, it's a little concern. And then they have normally removes the jacket normally, red flag, normally, what are trigger points in your sternocleidomastoid and trapezius. So when your skin's sensitive to touch, that's a red flag. I wouldn't tell patients not to ever complain with that. Because it doesn't happen unless you have a cervical problem. And he's tender everywhere. His neck examination is pretty normal, but he's tender with the Sterlings. Boys, when your passive motion is worse than your active, that's a red flag. It should never be like that, ever. Diffuse pain, provocative tendinitis, non-localized pain, cogwheel strength, pain in his forearm, normal sensation in his fingers despite numbness, any motion in his fingers, wrist, elbow causes shoulder pain. His grip strength of 2. So likely I'll tell you that when you grip, you're good at your side. You grip and it shouldn't activate any rotator cuff muscles. I get it doesn't have to be 70 and 2. X-rays, no fractures to acromion, no arthritis, no calcium deposits. MRI shows a partial tear. So the guy was told he had a tear. So to a patient, what does that mean on a tear? Somebody said to me, and I was not in this business, oh, that's bad, I taught something, it needs to be fixed, it's broken. But it wasn't really, it's a small partial tear too. His tendon's intact, it's a little thin tendinopathy, no atrophy, no degeneration, ligaments intact. So that's kind of normal aging. So he has a myofascial pain syndrome, and he has some rotator cuff tendinopathy, but not causing him pain. So I honestly do believe that if you care about a patient, you or me or anyone, the right thing to do is to be honest, to tell the truth, and say this isn't going to get better, this is not from your rotator cuff. Why? Explain it to the patient instead of just saying, get out of my office or you need surgery. So they're not going to get better. Therapy has helped, obviously. They did pharmacological management. So what they need is somebody to manage their pain, behavioral stuff, anxieties, whatever. But surgery isn't going to help this guy because he's going to be in the same predicament a year later after having undergone surgery. So just generally post-op rotator cuff. If you're going to repair the cuff for 6 weeks, you've got to be cautious. So passive motion to prevent a frozen shoulder. CPMs don't help. Long-term studies show they don't help. After 6 weeks, you let them start moving. After 8 weeks, lifting. 12 weeks, endurance work conditioning. That's normally how it goes. One of the problems, you can get infection and pain syndrome early, stiffness. You can see stiffness is a theme. You get weakness because of re-tear, scar, atrophy, or pain. Re-tears are not insignificant in older people, 30 to 50%. Work comp patients, you just got to be aware of it. They will have more post-op pain. They need close monitoring. I think having PT in a facility where the doctor is can be very helpful. I think there's a bias because obviously there's some financial issue, remuneration issues. But when you do PT and the therapist comes and says, hey, I saw Joe. Joe isn't doing well. I'll give you a prime example, not work comp. Stupidly operated on a cousin of a good friend of mine, sister who had tennis elbow. She felt everything and I did it, it went well. At 3 months, she should be back doing normal. So the therapist comes up and says, you've got a problem. She comes up from our first floor. I said, what's that? She says, I think that she has a disc in her neck. I said, so yeah, you're right. She's like, yeah. So I said, yeah. So she comes up, I examine her, and she's got florid weakness. I say, you're going for an MRI now. She's got a huge disc in her neck pushing on her spine. And she went straight, saw the spine doctor the next day and had a decompress. She was completely weak. So I think having that communication is very helpful. Even in work comp, much more helpful than in LIRA. This thing, communication, case managers come in very helpful. But avoid stiffness, work conditions appropriate. 6 months usually to MRI. Usually at 3 to 4 weeks, people can go that waist level, not using that arm very light. 8 weeks, 5 pounds waist level, no overhead. 12 weeks, you can start doing a little overhead. 16 weeks, you can do more. 24 weeks, you shouldn't have any restrictions. And I don't know about you, but that's about enough for me. Questions? Ask me.
Doctor, could you explain the relationship between tendinosis and causation on a rotator cuff injury?
So the question was, can I explain the association between tendinosis of the rotator cuff and work-related injury? Yeah. So in my opinion, based on science, if you do this repetitively and you do weights in that arm, so your construction, and you lift your arm above the horizontal, you're at a little higher risk for getting impingement and tendinosis. That's somebody who does waist level activities day in and day out. So I think that there is a potential causal relationship between the two that needs to be taken into account. I think if you have a curved acromion or a pleat acromion and you do overhead things repetitively with some force, there are studies that show that there's a higher incidence of getting rotator cuff tendinopathy, thinning of the tendon, and ultimately that could tear as it digs and digs as time goes on. So I think there can be a causal relationship, and there usually is. If somebody does waist level activities, then I think that there is zero relationship between writing, typing, and rotator cuff tendinopathy, because your tendon is not, your acromion isn't involved in that process. You can get natural wear and tear of the tendon that is part of life then, but then I think that's a degenerative tendinopathy, which we will get as we age, that may or may not become symptomatic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What you said something before about one kind of injection is very effective for diagnosing carpal tunnel.
So the question is it effective, or when do I do it, or
Not a diagnosis.
in diagnosing? So I think the question is about the effectiveness of a carpal tunnel injection in diagnosing carpal tunnel. So there are people on each side of the equation that never do it and do it a lot. So I tell you, I think that a diagnostic or a therapeutic, but a diagnostic cortisone injection is huge in my practice, in my mind. I think if you have a question in the diagnosis, so sometimes people have a double touch phenomenon. Pinched C5, 6 nerve, C6 nerve goes to the fingers, C7. Pinched nerve between C5 and 6 affects the C6 nerve root, and carpal tunnel. Which one's causing the problem? Actually, I don't know. I can't say, nobody can tell you that. They hope, maybe one, maybe neither. That's a crap shot. So you inject the carpal tunnel, you take away the inflammation of the nerve. They come back and they say, Doc, I'm 100% better. Well, I'll tell them their neck isn't causing their problem. I inject their carpal tunnel and they come back and they say, hey, Doc, that helps zero. I'll say to them specifically, I don't think the nerve compression is causing your symptoms. I could do a carpal tunnel release and it isn't going to help you. And if that's what you want, then you have to think about it twice. But a lot of guys will say do it anyway. But the problem is it needs to be addressed at the next. So I think a diagnostic cortisone injection can be huge. I think a therapeutic cortisone injection, I would inject most people. There are contraindications to doing a cortisone injection. People who have phobias of needles, I guess. I get that. I don't like needles. I would be cautious. But the contraindication are where there's infections and things like that. The contraindication in terms of carpal tunnel is if you have severe carpal tunnel where there's atrophy and weakness, if they have burning, constant, dysesthetic pain, and the nerve studies show that it's severe, and the cortisone injection is going to merely prolong the process. Unless you do a carpal tunnel release from that person, there's a chance, and with time, that will become irreversibly compressed. So irreversible compression, meaning you can do a carpal tunnel release, you can treat that person literally till the end of time, it ain't getting better because the nerve is dead. And so you want to minimize that risk. So I would not do a cortisone injection, or I would strongly suggest against doing a cortisone injection in somebody who has severe carpal tunnel syndrome, phenatrophy, inability to lift your thumb up, constant burning pain, because all you're going to do is you're going to give them 2 or 3 months of relief, and the process is continuing. It's not reversing the process. But in somebody who doesn't have very severe carpal tunnel, I do a lot of diagnostic and therapeutic cortisone injections. In my population where I practice, people actually like that. You gain confidence, you gain trust. It helps them. It might be for 3 years, it might be for 6 months, but there's no downside. Unless you hit the nerve, there's no downside. Did I answer your question? Yeah.
What is the best test if you suspect that it wasn't clear?
Depends if it's an anterior or posterior labrum. But the tests typically associated, so the labrum is like the meniscus of the shoulder. It's a layer of tissue, thick tissue that sits on the rim of a fairly flat socket, and it provides stability and it serves as the attachment for the ligaments and the biceps tendon. So if you suspect an anterior labral tear, so somebody who's unstable, then the test is an apprehension test, so having somebody do this with me manipulating it to see if they're unstable, and they'll usually apprehend. They'll say, whoa, that hurts in the front. Relocation test is you push it back in place and then they have less pain. Or you could do like a draw test, like in the knee, they do it for the ACL, that you can move the shoulder forwards and backwards, and they'll say that's hurting in the front of the shoulder, and that's a pretty good test for that. If it's a superior labrum, what they call a slap tear, so the superior labrum anterior posterior, that's a different story completely. So slap tears are being diagnosed way more frequently now than ever before. And so for slap tears, you typically do what's called an O'Brien's test, which is reaching across the body to see if you can impinge the humeral head on the top of the labrum, and they'll say it hurts here, not there, because not there, but in the anterior part of the shoulder. And you can move the shoulder around and see if you can push the humeral head against the labrum to see if it reproduces their symptoms. But if it's an anterior or posterior labrum, it's instability testing. If it's a superior labrum, it's usually reaching across across baseball pitches, get a lot of superior labral tears.
About doing an MR arthrogram or a CT arthrogram.
Yeah, and then not to mention that, just to hop on that diagnostic cortisone injection is great for those things. So if you get a middle-aged older person who has equivocal examination, there's no harm in doing an injection, especially for a slap tear. Their pain goes away, the inflammation goes away, and then you monitor them, make sure their strength is good, and see if it comes back or not. MRI arthrogram is the gold standard for labral tears to see whether they're unstable and to see whether they're degenerative and to see how extensive they are. But nowadays the new MRIs, the 3 tester MRIs now are really accurate. I hardly ever send anyone for an MRI. Very occasionally, very rarely do I send people primarily for an MRI arthrogram, because the new MRIs, they're not the stand-up MRI, which is terrible, or the old grainy MRIs. The new MRIs are great, coupled with a good examination is good. Work-on situations where recurrent symptoms, so people have rotator cuff tears, and you're looking to differentiate between scar and new tear, then an MRI arthrogram is invaluable, CT arthrogram invaluable, because what you're doing then is you're coating all the structures with contrast. So you can tell the difference between the tendon and scar quite nicely with that. So if somebody had a rotator cuff tear and they were still having symptoms, I would get an MRI arthrogram on that person 100% of the time, because it's going to give you a lot more information than just an MRI, which is going to say, can't tell this, can't tell if it's scar, can't tell if it's a re-tear, maybe it's a partial re-tear. When you cut the MRI arthrogram, it's good for the post-op, like if somebody's had a rotator cuff tear, a repair already. Yeah.
What about autosomal syndrome caused by trauma? Can that happen in one?
Yeah, I mean, it can happen, absolutely. So, yeah, interesting. Last weekend I reviewed a case. Lady was in a car accident, car got pretty banged up badly, airbags deployed, went to the ER, they documented no numbers for tingling. She sees the chiropractor a week later, numbers and tingling. So, the question then becomes, why was it not numb in the ER? I get it, you're overwhelmed, she's neck pain, a million things going on, things can get lost. Not sure I trust the ER all that much for really assessing it that well, but yeah, I mean, if there's a temporal relationship between an injury, concordant mechanism and symptoms, it's hard to say that that wasn't in some ways causative. So if somebody falls, they have a wrist fracture, they have numbness and tingling, yeah, I think that's a slam dunk. I mean, you can't change that. What I do have concern with is in somebody who falls and 6 months later says, I have numbness and tingling. That just doesn't happen. Nerve injuries happen immediately. It's like when you bump your funny bone on the edge of the corner of the table, you don't notice that the next day. That's like pretty sudden. That's like that's how it is. And so that's usually how it is. It doesn't happen months later where they suddenly. So just to stop you from answering your next question is, what about swelling? Because I get that all the time. Is the swelling cause it? You need a lot of swelling to cause a nerve to be compromised. So you need a lot of swelling in the carpal tunnel. So wrist fractures are concordant cause, and I think there has to be visible swelling and bruising there. It can't just be like normal motion, full finger motion, minor swelling. That doesn't typically cause it.
Okay.